We're going to kick this off with Meta. Big announcement. The press is going absolutely bonkers. Essentially, Zuckerberg and his 3 social media properties is going to go all community notes, very similar to X. Dan, is this the end of the world for everybody? Are we going to be crying memes out there?
There will be some crying memes, but Pat, let's face it, there are always crying memes. When there's too much moderation, people think that they're having their free speech taken away. When they have too much free speech, people think it's all hate speech. When, I can't tell you, Pat, that you still got food on your chin right now. It hurts your feelings. There's a feeling hurting barometer that goes off, and the expectation is you need a moderator to take that down. Then on top of it, there's just the business and economics and politics. I mean, what we saw in November was we can span whether it was decisive, whether it was a landslide, whether it was a close defeat. There's a lot of different metrics that could be used and describe what happened in the election. But what happened was there was a feeling that what would be considered to be strongly left or liberal politics needed to come back towards the center in some ways. Okay. I know we're not a politics show, so just put up with my crap and listen to me for a minute. This is why you have Tim Cook, Mark Zuckerberg, and basically every other CEO flying to Mar-a-Lago right now, or if they're invited and they're writing their $1 million checks for the inauguration, because the bottom line is that most of us feel that the politics that these folks articulate is some permanent state of their beliefs, but realistically, it's a state of the climate of the economy and the world and the business, and their goal is to continue growing their companies in every different regime. I know that's not Meta exactly, but let's face what really brought the whole community notes and moderation to the forefront really goes back to some of the things that happened with early utilization of social platforms to drive election or opinion, the beginning of sort of misinformation. This didn't start in the Trump era. This goes back to, the elections,
2016.
What's that?
It was 2016,
That's when that really started, this first Trump election. But yeah, I mean, it had been happening for some time. As we got to this era where people figured out that they could use social media to move opinion. And by the way, people are not particularly able to discern between fact and fiction. They're not able to always completely understand the nuance of information. We've seen how different outlets, media, different publications, this can span both of the sides of the political continuum, can take snippets of comments that are made out of context. I still think the best example of this is the Trump calling the far-right extremists very fine people. And, that was debunked everywhere, including on Snopes. But I mean, I had an argument with my mother about this in the most recent election because she still, to this day, believes he said that. So this is what's going on. And what's happening now is there's still this kind of bifurcated view of the world that X is a sort of niche play, but it's really become the number one news source for, I think Musk shared the other day, over 150 countries. It's the number one news source. It is the first place. It is the fire hose of where people get information from all major media outlets, but also from these sort of highly reliable citizen journalists that are out there that people trust, whether that's you, Patrick, about fitness and healthcare, or other people about technology. But in all seriousness, Zuck went the right way. And I mean, look, I do think there is a place for moderation, meaning when there is violent, horrific content, child, exploitation that takes place. I think that is a real meaningful thing where maybe moderation should take it down before it becomes harmful and gets into the wrong hands. Having said that, an opinion about about healthcare, an opinion about a political bill of law, a opinion about an economic decision, an opinion about a political figure. We've seen over and over, Pat, on both sides of the political divide, information has been come out. The media has basically done some type of censoring to provide the belief to the public that the story is wrong. And then we found out that that story turned out to be true. It's happened a lot. And so the better way to do this is using real-time community notes from sources that have to be validated, that have to be checked, and have to be willing to be public about what the sources are, who the sources are. And that way, people can read it. The community note appears. That would, I don't know about you, Pat, but every time I see a community note, I instantly go, well, maybe I shouldn't have shared that, or maybe that is inaccurate.
Yeah.
So it works for me. I think it can work for others. So I think Zuck is following the momentum. He understands that this country is politically divided, but that there are two very large swaths of potential consumers for the platform. There will always be people at the farthest edges of the fringes that are going to feel that they are not doing enough to support their political beliefs. But just like the way primaries have destroyed political parties, too much moderation can destroy social platforms. And we need more centrism. We need more town square. We need more debate in public, Pat. And I think this is a good thing. Oh, and I also think it's good that he's moving what's left of the moderation to the great state of Texas. I believe I also heard that that's happening.
Yeah, good rundown there, Daniel. And really is a shift for Meta, and whether it's politically motivated or something different. It seems like we are moving to more of a centrist area. And just to be clear, it's not removing all humans from the loop. In fact, the way to get reinstated, they're actually increasing the amount of resources if you get banned or things like shadow banned. And I think the biggest thing that came out, and I do appreciate the opacity of the blog. I mean, he basically Zuck came out and said, hey, we're going to loosen restrictions on some sensitive topics here. As it relates to community notes, it's just not one way or another. It actually, I mean, how many times has Elon been community noted, right? Probably 5-10% of his posts get community noted. And I think that just shows that the system is working as it should. We will, and we're already seeing examples in press stories about the type of content and how horrible. But I think I'd like for everybody to give it a chance. I also really like the focus on the high severity violations like terrorism, things like child exploitation, stuff that I'm hoping that we can't have a disagreement on. But all in all, I mean, I'm an old guy, as you like to point out, and things always, the pendulum always swings, and the pendulum is currently swinging in a different direction. So I like X because of the freedom. That's a personal statement. I don't do a lot on Facebook or Instagram, or I forget the text-based platform that I get bugged on Instagram. But maybe, yeah, I mean, maybe this will give me a reason to go back to Thread.
And Pat, by the way, I don't think we have so much to talk about that we can't spend too much more time on this one. But we are, I think today we're very close to a TikTok ban. I mean, so Zuck obviously sees a fairly significant reason to potentially try to win over more audience. That's a big opportunity out there. Oh, I do want to say though, that watch he wore really showed that he's a man of the people, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, way to round it out, and we can't spend more time. Yeah, it's
$900,000 watch, dude. That's epic. And by the way, such a baller move. I mean, we're in the era where you can do that again. Right?
Yeah, the next thing he might do is show up on Rogan and go through this. That'd be crazy.